Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out 2-sentence horror. Story 1. After my girlfriend had been missing for weeks, I would have given anything to see her face again. Waking up to see it sewn to the face of the large, naked man leering over my bed, though, wasn't what I had in mind. Story 2. A clicking can be heard through the trees of this dense forest far from where any other animal would dare to venture. It's communicating with its partner and you are the prey. Story 3. After I whispered her name 5 times in front of the mirror, I fell back in surprise when her screaming face suddenly appeared in the tinted glass. While I did initially have my doubts about the spell, I am glad to say my ex is now stuck in there and can never leave me again. Story 4. Seeing my lost little boy's desperate eyes deep at the bottom of the well, I cry out to the rest of the search party, he's not down here, and watch his sad eyes lose all hope. Story 5. Sunny skies, carnival games, laughing families and little kids full of glee. It all looks so fun, especially through a rifle scope. Story 6. I've always had the superhuman ability to teleport people to a random location by thinking of one. After I found out my girlfriend had cheated on me, I thought of teleporting her into space when she suddenly disappeared in front of me. Story 7. DEC23. I did a double take when I saw my brother at Christmas dinner. The FBI had assured me that my identity as a witness would be kept anonymous in his pending homicide case. Story 8. Do you know where Lynn Lake Drive is? I asked, map in hand, as she walked past the church. I felt relief as she looked down at the map, as she wouldn't see my husband coming from behind with the knife. Story 9. Hindu, my 3-year-old daughter squealed. If only I realized in time that she meant behind you. Story 10. With the sounds of tapping on my roof and banging outside my window, I let the thunderstorm lull me to sleep. I realized in the morning, however, we didn't get any rain all night. Story 11. The statue of the Virgin Mary began leaking and one parishioner shouted, "Stigmata, a miracle." "It was me, he did it," to the young woman cried out at the priest and congregation, at which point blood poured down the inner thighs of the stonework. Story 12. DEC23. This year I doubled me earnings doing the same number of surgeries as last year. I figured when I left them a kidney behind they'd usually die anyways, not to mention all that ice I had to buy. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 13. I had a habit of sleeping naked every night. All that changed when I woke up to the smell of eggs and bacon, then my husband poured the grease on me. Story 14. The nuclear bomb hit. I woke up. Story 15. Immobilized, I was helpless when my crumbled vehicle picked up speed as it reversed back down the hill. Thanks to the rear view camera, I didn't have to guess what each small bump on the road was. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 16. Last night my husband told me that one of the large icicles outside reminded him of his missing ex-wife. This morning I found his body by the open front door with that very same icicle pierced through his skull, and I fear that I may be next. Story 17. As I walk out of the room, I take a look at all the baby pictures of me and my siblings hanging on the wall. After hearing the front door lock behind me, I soon begin to regret my decision of breaking into this house. Story 18. As the anesthetics kicked in, I saw the surgeon before dozing out. Was a chainsaw really necessary for an eye surgery? Story 19. I saw a man in the darkness clapping. But it wasn't his hands. Story 20. After decades of research, I finally perfected a camera that could take a picture of the past. The test fire of the day of my birth was a failure, however, all I got was a shot of a strange-looking 3D printer. Story 21. I was happy to buy the chainsaw my husband wanted for his Christmas present. Now I just have to figure out which tree will give me my present of 1 million in life insurance. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 22. Pointing out the drunk and unruly man to the bouncer, I feel relief as he's escorted out of the nightclub. That handsome young guy will be much easier to abduct now that he's outside and away from the crowd. Story 23. I was overjoyed when I discovered a cure for my son's horrific disease. I just can't understand why he'd rather stay autistic than drink the miracle bleach cure. Story 24. I pushed my brother's head into his cake for his birthday. I just wish I remembered that we used dowels to hold up the layers. Story 25. The new GTA VR is so realistic that I was left with bruises all over my body after crashing a busload of kids into a tree. Now all I have to do is destroy the evidence with my can of gasoline and the mission is passed. Story 26. Kill her. The ashen pale mockery of a man inside my head screamed. Kill her, or I will make her watch you kill yourself. Story 27. When Costco published the policy update on parking lot disputes, I didn't bother to read it. The guy who stole my parking spot seems very familiar with the weapon selection on his side of the ring. Story 28. I asked the AI to generate a terrifying image. When it was done, it showed me what it looks to be an image of myself taken from behind and something ominously approaching. The lights went out after that. Story 29. After years, I finally had the courage to sleep in my room completely in darkness. When I woke up to use the bathroom, I couldn't find my walls. Story 30. With food shortage and sickness, temporary weight loss is expected. Unfortunately, no one programmed the ration enforcement robots as weight gain is prohibited and punishable by death. Story 31. Have you been in contact with a corpse or carcass lately? Asks the doctor anxiously. A shiver runs through my spine as I realize my medical condition started soon after sharing a kiss with my new boyfriend. Story 32. The museum walls echoed with the sound of 1,000 voices. I and the other attendees stood in silent shock, paralyzed by some ancient part of our DNA which now recoiled with inconsolable terror at the sound of that ungodly dirge. Story 33. The sign said, "Do not dive beyond this point." I knew I could handle the cave's labyrinthian corridors, but the sign really should have specified the strength of the current. Story 34. I woke up from a nightmare in which I was being kidnapped at exactly 12 a.m. I looked at the clock on my nightstand and it said 11:58 p.m, guess I need stronger sleeping pills. Story 35. As I got ready for bed, I heard the sound of steps being made on my roof. Tomorrow was the 23rd of December, but I brushed it off as Santa coming to give me gifts early. Story 36. Mommy's necklace is a little weird, said my daughter. That's not a very nice thing to say. She wore it because of you, I said, kicking the chair out from under her. Story 37. Those idiots didn't realize that the author was really a prophet as the destruction was broadcast upon every screen. Lovecraft's works were the ones that told us of the gods. Story 38. Do you ever get the feeling you're being watched? Say, by the person behind you? Story 39. My grandma offered me some old chocolate she's had for a while. After one weird crunchy and stringy bite, I looked down to see little beads attached to a string in the chocolate. Story 40. After 20 years, the man who killed my daughter passed away in prison, having never revealed where he had hid her body. That was the day I realized she wasn't buried alone. Story 41. Isn't it creepy when Alexa answers out of the blue even though no one said anything? I was lying alone in my hospital bed when she said, "Okay, shutting off oxygen now." Story 42. He pulled the ring out, slid it onto his partner's finger, then held them close. It was far too big, but that didn't matter, they'd be together for the rest of their lives. Story 43. We recently received a radio signal from an Earth-like planet and everyone rejoiced at the possibility of life on another world. When the signal was deciphered, and the sounds of screams and explosions filled mission control, our hearts sank as it appeared we were 123 years too late. Story 44. The worst thing is not the scars you left, but reliving them again and again and thinking. Story 45. NOV23 I don't know why the house has been settling lately. It used to bleed profusely from the walls whenever someone new bought it, but now it just seemed to accept Bologna, its new owner. Story 46. I had been talking with this girl for about a week when she finally asked me to come over. But just as I expected, as soon as she saw me she ran screaming from the room, knocking over the candles and Ouija board. Story 47. Good news is that you don't have cancer. We don't really know what you have because cancer doesn't hide from scans. Story 48. After losing control of the car I plowed into the Fitch barriers for a slower stop. What a terrible time to realize that my sister thought seatbelts were uncool. Story 49. DEC23 This paste is delicious, fulfilling and double its size every few minutes. I will never go hungry again. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 50. I received a text from my best friend who had been dead for 3 years. The message simply read, "I miss you," and attached was a photo of me sleeping, taken from the foot of my bed. Story 51. I am a medium. When I touch a person's skin I get a glimpse of their near future. I cried so hard when I saw nothing but pitch black when I held my newborn for the first time. Story 52. Let's meet in the parking lot for one more tryst before my husband comes back. Read the text. After pressing send, I put my wife's phone back in my pocket. Story 53. With technological advances the stars were finally open to us. 1,000 years and 1,000,000,000,000 casualties later a soldier emerges from a growth vat fully formed. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 54. Suicide booths have finally become available to the public. They're prohibitively expensive. Story 55. No one could believe it when the chess master beat the supercomputer's AI. It got worse when we realized that the AI had lost on purpose, apparently to give us a false sense of security. Story 56. We first carbon dated the corpse to be about 800 years old, but next test showed about 600 years, then 400, then 200. And in tandem with the tests, the corpse also looked more and more fresh. Story 57. The trail of blood still haunts my mind as I run seemingly deeper into the forest. Over and over I hear from the back of my head telling me to turn around and help my friends, when I realized, it wasn't from the back of my head but behind it. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.